Hey guys, in this video I'll teach you how to fold scales of the Ryujin 2.1, designed by Kamiya Satoshi. Now if you've ever taken a look at any Ryujin above 1.2, you can immediately tell that most of it is made out of scales. So learning how to fold those little guys is absolutely vital to development of your skills to fold an actual model. Now, as you might have guessed from the title of the video, the huge announcement is, you guessed it, a Ryujin 2.1 tutorial. Now, it's really hard to make a 10-hour long video explaining everything step by step. That's why I decided to make small parts, crucial sections of the crease pattern such as scales today, and throughout the next couple of weeks I'll be uploading new videos with other parts. And finally, at the end I shall upload a video that encapsulates everything we've learned up to this point and fold an actual dragon. So make sure you're subscribed to this channel and that your notification bell is turned on. This way you'll be notified when the next part is up. With that being said, let's talk a little bit about a paper. I'll be using Kami paper that is 24 by 24 centimeters. That's a little bit less than 10 inches. And this is an overkill. You can totally use printing paper. It will work just fine, but this is the paper I decided to use because it's large enough to see the creases. With all of that being said, let's start folding. We'll start off the white side of the paper. We have to divide paper into 12 equal parts. And the way we'll achieve that is by dividing it in thirds first. So let me show you a really cool way how to do that. Probably the way you've never seen before. First of all, we'll fold a diagonal crease like this. And now we'll fold paper horizontally and vertically in half. Now I'll fold this corner to the middle line, but I won't fold all the way through. I'll just mark a little section on the right here. I'll rotate the paper this way and do the same thing. I'll rotate the paper back, and now I got 2 points, this one and that one. I'll bring this point up to that one. Once you do that, you need to mark this section over here, and believe it or not, that's 1/3. I'll just bring this corner to that point. Unfold the paper, rotate it, and fold your edge to the newly made crease. Now rotate it this way and use my diagonal crease, the intersection between diagonal crease and the third, to divide paper into thirds in this direction as well. As you can tell, I really like doing this. I sort of flip the paper on the other side, make a slight pinch mark, and now tilt the paper so that my edges are aligned. Unfold, rotate, and bring the edge to newly made crease. And now we have 3 by 3 grid. To get a 6 by 6 grid, we need to bring this edge to the third. And we'll repeat that on every single side. We have a 6 by 6 grid now. I'll rotate the paper on the colored side and fold my edge to the next crease. We are dividing paper into 12 equal parts now. Now what I like to do is make a moundfold here and just pleat it, bring it to the next crease. And you can repeat the same steps till you run out of paper. So you can just keep on doing that, but I prefer just unfolding everything and doing moundfolds and bringing them to the next crease. As for the last crease, I like to rotate the paper and manually add that one. Now rotate the paper in this direction so the creases are going right there, and repeat the same steps. Our 12 by 12 grid is ready, and now we can start collapsing. Now I'll show you how to fold the scales without pre-creasing them. A lot of people like pre-creasing the scales, but when it comes to Ryujin 2.1, I prefer to just free-fold them. I think it gives this really nice organic look, and if you look in real life, snakes don't really have perfectly symmetrical scales, so small imperfections are more than welcome. And as a matter of fact, Kamiya also didn't pre-crease his scales on Ryujin 2.1. Let's start collapsing. We'll start in this corner over here. We'll count 2 units from the right. 1, 2. Make a mountain fold and make a valley fold to the left of it. So we'll just bring that whole section there. And now from this line, we'll count 2 units. 1, 2. Make a mountain fold, but this time we'll bring it to the right. Now we'll repeat the same thing. From this point, 2 units to the left, 1, 2. And this time again, we are bringing it to the left. So we're alternating between left and right. And now from here, 2 units, 1, 2, and bring it to the left. And we get this sort of looking thing. And if you were folding an actual 2.1, you'd repeat this all throughout the end of the paper. Next step is to make a valley fold along the first crease. And then make a mountain fold along the second one here. And now we want to make this triangle-like fold. We need 2 valley folds starting from this point and going like that. And you can achieve that by taking this layer and aligning it with this one over here. Like that. And now do the same thing up here. And you can start flattening the model. Like this. And now we'll do the same thing over here. We'll grab this flap and do the same thing. Cool. I'll unfold that. Turn the paper around. Now pull those layers apart. When you pull those apart, you'll see this diamond-like square shape. We want to make a mountain fold along this crease and along this one. Like that. And mountain fold all the way to the end. And now we'll just bring our hands together and flatten. And this is what's happening. And we'll fold the flap to the right. Once again. And now we'll do the same thing over here. We'll spread this part apart. Make mountain fold along this line and mountain fold along the bottom one. Here's the mountain fold. And now bring your hands together and flatten. And we'll fold our flap to the right. At this point you might want to use a bone folder or something. Helps with flattening the model. And now we'll fold this flap in half. So we'll bring it to this crease. And now using the newly made crease, we'll do I believe this fold is called a spread sync. And the way you do it is start opening this pocket over here. I'll use tweezers. You can use your hands, fingers, and then we'll start flattening this part. And you're going to flatten it all the way to the end. But what I prefer doing is starting from the bottom. So I'll make a mound fold here, and then mound fold along this half unit, like that. And flatten this part, and then work my way up to this section, and once I come here, I just flatten the paper. And now we'll fold this flap, the left flap to the right, and do the close sync. And the way you do that is by making a mound fold along this crease, and you're actually going to grab paper from behind, make a mound fold like this, and then push the paper inside. Like that, and then we'll just flatten the whole thing. You might want to use tweezers to make this section a little more clean. This looks good. Now I'll do the same thing over here. So I'll fold it in half. And do the spread sync. I'll start at the top, just for the first bit, like that, and now work my way from the bottom, or in this case from the left, all the way to this section, and then flatten the paper. Now I'll grab this left flap and fold it to the right, and perform a close sync. As you can see, this one got a little messy, and the way you fix that is by using tweezers. And see, there's this little messed up part. You can go from behind with tweezers and fix that. Okay, this looks better. And now I'll just flatten that section. Now, those were the upper transition units if you look at a crease pattern. We'll be talking about that a little more in later videos. But for now, we'll make a valley fold over here and another mound fold over here. Now, we'll locate this layer. You'll see that there is a layer it's actually a whole unit. It's not a half a unit like this one over here, but it's like a whole unit. So make sure you're grabbing this one. And we'll do a similar kind of fold we did earlier, the triangle shape. And we'll do the same thing right over here. You'll find it's a little easier because there's only one part to this guy. Awesome. Now unfold that. Go back to the colored side, and we'll start right over here. We'll grab this part, open it up, and do the same thing we did earlier. So we got a mound fold over here, and we'll make a mound fold over here. And now we want to flatten the model, so let me show you how to do that. We'll make a valley fold here, and everything will automatically collapse like that. Let me show you that once again. And I'll fold it to the right, same way we did earlier. And now we'll get the other one, which is right over here in the middle. You're spreading those apart. Make sure you don't spread those, but the ones next to it, there's like a whole unit right there. Open that apart. Make a mound fold along those folds and the bottom fold here. And now we'll collapse that in this fashion. So make sure that this isn't happening. This part stays behind this one. And we'll fold it to the right. And now we'll do all the same steps. Let's start over here. We'll fold the paper in half. The flap in half. Do the spread sync. Now we'll fold it to the right and do the close sync. And be very careful over here. Again, this is the edge of the paper, and you gotta be really careful when pushing the paper in. And you can always fix the messy part by looking from behind. Or not. And just flat that. This is fine. This is the end of the paper. It'll be hidden. Let's just pretend nothing happened. Let's do the same thing over here. And be a little more careful this time. Now before we proceed, I'm going to grab a pen and draw a couple of lines. This is purely because it'll be a little easier to see the lines I'm about to show you. So the first line I'm going to draw is 1 unit from the bottom. So it's this one over here. So I'm going to grab my pen and just go over the paper like that. And now from that line I'll count 3 units up, 1, 2, 3, and make another line. Now I'll count 1 unit up, make another line, and then count 3 units up from that point, 1, 2, 3, which is right over here. The reason why I do those is the scales are symmetrical. This is this belly portion and we got scales on each side. So now let's start collapsing them. We'll start by making a valley fold along this fold and then a mountain fold along the black line. Now this part will be a little tricky. It takes a great deal of precision, but once you do a couple of scales, it starts being really fun. So here's how it starts. You grab this portion of the paper, you spread this part apart, and now we are trying to make a 45-degree angle line from this point. Now we can use the grid lines because 45 degrees is actually the diagonal of our square, but you can't really see a square over here. You can see a square right over here, but there is no square that we could use for a reference. And that's why you gotta train your eye to find the half of this unit over here, because the half of that is exactly where the square would be. So I'll make a 45-degree line, make a good guess, and I can always see how good my guess was by comparing those 2 points and seeing if this point lies in the middle. And this one looks fine, so I'll make a sharp crease. Again, as I said, this will take some practice. Don't worry, I'll get it down. Next fold is a valley line over here. And this one's also 45 degrees, but in this case we have the square thingy we can use as a reference. And the way I like doing those is by making a mountain fold first, like that. And now all you're doing is bringing this part up, and you want to align those 2 lines with those 2 points. Like that. You can also turn the paper over and make an actual fold. You can see there's that grid unit square. I can make a fold like this. But this is good. I'll repeat the same thing on the bottom here. And we are starting right over there where this black line ends. And we're going 45 degrees. Now you'll find it's a little easier on the bottom because you can just flip the paper over, and when you fold this up, you can align this crease with the crease behind it, and you can perfectly get a 45-degree line. Fortunately, that's not the case for the upper ones. Now, for the sake of simplicity, I'll just make a straight fold all the way to the bottom. As you can see, it ends right there. And now we need half a unit starting here, but all that is just folding this over like that. And now I can just do a zigzag little pleat fold like that. And this is good. Okay, now let's do the same thing on the flap next to it. First we'll spread it apart, and you'll see the grid, well, the reference points alternate between, you know, good stuff and bad stuff. This time around we got a square over here, and we can clearly see how this 45-degree line should go. And it goes all the way to the black line over here. So I'll make a sharp crease right away. Of course, for the valley line, which is the next one, that's not the case. So what I highly encourage you to do is train your eye to just make a pleat like that, and you'll see the creases you're supposed to align those points with. As you can see, there's this little point right there, then there is this one, and we're trying to make parallel lines to the lines we made before. This is good. Again, we can always turn the paper around and examine how precise we were. But this looks totally fine to me. And now let's do the same thing on the bottom. Again, we are starting right here at the end of the black line. So it's right over here. And this time around, I'll be also making the line that goes all the way through. And now is where the fun begins. The next one is a proper scale move, if I can call it that way. Let's just spread this apart and do the exact same thing. So 45-degree line, no grid units this time, but we can use this point right here for a 45-degree line. So you're just looking for squares, really. Like if you can see a square that you can fit your 45-degree line in, that's great. And now again, mountain fold here and then a valley fold. We're just bringing this one up, and you'll find that we actually hit this black crease, and that's where we're going to stop. We're not going to go any further than that. So let me just make that crimp little fold. Crimp little fold, alright. Then make a mountain fold along this crease. Just going to go all the way through. Like this. And now starting from this point, like whenever we hit the black line here, the belly part, we're just going to reflect this line like that, 45 degrees, like this, in this direction. So we're going that way, and then we're going this way, and then we're going to make a valley line right there. So it goes from this point to here. And in the same time, we'll be folding paper over like that. So it's a valley fold next to our mountain. So the goal is to do a bunch of folds simultaneously. So I'm just bringing this down and now flattening this. And this is what we are going for. Let me show that once again. All right. Now let's do the same thing over here. Again, we're starting the end of the black line. Again, I'm making a crease that goes all the way through. And this time I'm stopping right over here, but I'll unfold this section so that I don't make any unnecessary creases. And as soon as I hit that black part, I'm going to reflect the line in this direction. So make a mountain fold right over here. And I'm going to start making the valley fold first. So fold this up. Again, I'm looking for a parallel line in comparison to those two. And as for this fold, there is a valley fold right there. So I'll be just folding that down and now flattening the whole thing. And this looks pretty cool, right? This is this section. And now we'll keep doing that all the way to the end. So let's do the second one. Again, starting from here. We go all the way to the black line, just right there. Now the valley fold, again, I like to pull this up and then make a valley, crease. I'll be making a mound fold here, going all the way down from the black line, reflected, and this time it goes all the way to here. You'll find after we do a bunch of scales that you see the larger portion this time, like it's this big. Before it was just that big. Eventually it will start going all the way to one of those sections. And that's a pretty cool part. Alright, so we got a valley here. Let's make a valley over here, and I'll also be making a valley fold right here at the same time. It's a little easier because we'll be collapsing it eventually. You can also turn the paper around. So folding this down and then flattening this whole section. Okay, now let's do the same thing over here, starting right there. Let's flatten that. Of course we can't flatten the whole model, but we can at least flatten the bottom portion of the scales. And if you take a look at the scales, usually the bottom portion is way cleaner than the upper one. And the reason being is you can actually flatten this part. Okay, now this time around, let me just show you. Let's just repeat the steps here. So I'm pulling the paper out, doing the mound fold, goes all the way to here. Now let's pull this portion out, make a valley fold, and now as for the reflecting lines, let's make a mound fold here first. Something magical will happen. When you make a mound fold 45 degrees in that direction, you'll hit this point, and the scales will start flattening. So when you're making a mound fold here, you gotta be pushing with your finger underneath. You'll get the cleanest result that way. Like that. This is pretty cool, because at this point, you're flattening this section and a bunch of other parts. So again, valley fold here. We'll just magically flatten. And this setup looks like this part gets me all the time. And the cool thing is, you'll see this sort of thing all throughout the body. Because only the beginning is tricky, then it started getting really repetitive, and then you just do the same thing over and over again. Okay, let's do the bottom part, starting right there. Okay, now we'll make a crease that goes all the way through. When it comes to the bottom part, I just like making creases that go all the way through. I'll show you the reason why in a second. Like that. Now let's make a valley line. And another thing you can use, a little trick is, if you have a light beneath you, you can actually see the layers through. I can't show you right now, but since this part is being folded over, you can see like a little black portion over here. And you can use that to fold perfectly at 45-degree line. So now here's the valley fold. and I'll just flatten everything. And here's the cool part. So this, just grab that, pull it down, push the paper from beneath and make a mountain here, and flatten that. You can also start by spreading this part apart like this and then making the folds, but I just prefer to pre-crease that little section. Okay, that's it. Now we'll just keep doing the same thing till we run out of the paper. And same as before, we're spreading this part apart like this, and I'm flattening. Okay, so the another way you can approach folding the scales, you can start right over here instead of there. The benefits being, this is usually the part that gets messy. So if you start by making a mountain fold, it goes from that point to here first, and flattening that section, so just folding it down, your chances of getting a really clean fold are getting higher. And this is, I usually alternate between the two. Depends how I feel like it about it. So let's make a mountain fold here. I'm sort of doing the same steps but in the reverse order. And then it's supposed to go this way, but I have to spread the paper first and then make a crease. There we go, now let's repeat the steps on the bottom. And you can also do the same thing, you can spread this part apart, and here's the end of the black line. Start making a mountain fold in that direction, so all the way to here. And you can flatten that section by making that extra valley fold there first, and then proceed with making a mountain fold in that way. So I'll do the same steps. Be careful with this part. When you open it up, you might want to just unfold it manually like this and then make that mountain fold, because it's the edge of the paper. It might be a little tricky to get that fold in. Like that. Like that. As for that section, you can just flatten it like that for now. That's perfectly fine. So let's repeat the same thing on the bottom. So this time around, there's no bottom section, we're just making creases all the way to the left edge of the paper. And here's why, starting with mountain folds in this direction is a little more convenient, because now we don't have any, black lines to rely on here. So we can start by making mountain fold here to the black line right there, and now that reflects about this line and goes all the way to somewhere around there. I'm using this as a reference and then making a line straight through those. Okay, let's do this one now. Now this time around, mountain fold goes all the way to the end. So this time we'll just make a fold, like a valley fold like this, and call it a day, like that. And now you can just proceed by making mountain folds over here, like that, and then the valley fold, and this whole section will flatten. Let's do the same thing with the bottom. You can either, start making mountain folds here and then doing the pleats, or you can open this part, look for the end of the black line, make a mountain fold here, and then make the lines. And as for this last part, I'm making a valley fold right here, just folding this up and now folding this to the right. Let me just clean that up a little bit. Like this. And now as for the bottom, open that part up, make mountain fold along the black lines and along the white line over here. So like this. And I'll just flatten that. Like that. And now we'll use bone folder to make this mold perfectly flat. Now you don't want to spend a whole lot of time here, because we still want paper to have little separations, of layers. It looks a lot better. But we don't want the paper being like this either. So apply a decent amount of pressure, but not too much. And now finally, those are the last steps, probably the easiest ones. Mountain fold along this whole line. Okay, you might want to look from the other side and go through with bone folder, the other sharp object like that. We'll make a valley fold here, essentially bring that up, and I'll make a mountain fold along this line. And this will fold over this part. Like that. And now the final step. As you have those folded, we're bringing this edge to the upper one. Like this. And you'll find we are making a fold that goes in between the black lines. Now we didn't do that at the beginning because when we actually fold a real Ryujin 2.1, you'll have so many layers over here, it'll be really thick. So once you bring those two together, you'll have let's see, if I put my pen over here, there won't be any fold at all. It'll be like this curved bend fold right there. So I prefer not to make it prior to collapsing because it's not necessary. But with that being said, we are actually done. That's it. That's how you fold the scales of the Ryujin 2.1. And this is not too hard. And it's absolutely crucial to making this dragon. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel. Again, click the notification bell. I'll be uploading more videos related to 2.1 in the next couple of weeks, and stay tuned for the final long-awaited Ryujin 2.1 tutorial. If you managed to fold this guy, share your photos on Instagram. I'll make sure to check them out. I'm OrigamiSage, and I'll see you next time. Happy folding!